Hi, my name is Raven Irabor. I'm a Pan-African image maker and art curator from the Bronx, New York, and I am the curator for this exhibition, Last Night I Cried, Unveiling Liminal Spaces, and I'm so grateful to ACW for having me. At its core, this exhibition aims to be a sanctuary for women, particularly women of color who've gone through heartbreak. In this exhibition, not only are we exploring heartbreak, we're looking at the passage of time. In its title, Last Night I Cried, we see the distinction, the nuanced distinction between last night and today, symbolizing the passage of time. We're looking at women who've cried last night and what that journey looks like tomorrow, the day after, and the day after. So when you enter the gallery, this is the first art piece. This is an artwork by Sierra. It's an audio installation piece. Sierra and I are frequent collaborators. We've collaborated on many projects in the past. And for this piece, she actually was able to create a custom score based on the order of the photography. So the creative process was, I sent her a deck that had the layout of the exhibition, and she took the ebbs and flows of the feelings that we were experiencing throughout the space and created a custom piece. So as you walk in, you scan this QR code, and you're able to listen to the score as you walk through the gallery. The intention is, normally when people go to exhibitions, they look at art pieces very passively, and they're not really connected or in tune with the work that they're seeing on the wall. So this audio piece really allows people to be more connected to the emotions that's being invoked in the photography and in the work throughout the gallery space, creating a more immersive and connecting experience. So these first set of images, photographed by our photographer, Sasha Stavila, features me, the subject, in this empty white space where you see that I'm physically here but mentally not here as I'm contemplating and reflecting on just everything that I've been going through when it comes to this non-linear journey of heartbreak. And as we think about heartbreak, Brene Brown's book, The Atlas of the Heart, was one of the books that I used for this photo shoot. And we have this quote here, which to me exemplifies exactly what heartbreak means. And it says that heartbreak comes from losing love, and it is inevitable unless we choose not to love at all. To be heartbroken means daring to love. And I just think that quote is so strong, and actually in the film I directed, we have some of the women actually respond to that prompt to really think about what does this prompt mean, what does this quote mean in terms of just this world and experience of heartbreak, and if it's something that people believe is true.
So when working on these shoots, this photo shoot, I worked with a somatic intimacy healer for the very first time. And she really allowed me to bring out the emotions on set. So as you see with these photos, this is our second set of the shoot, and these were really, really emotional. So with this setup, we do have this mirror, which kind of symbolizes this literal idea of reflection. I think in addition to the tears, just my facial expression, my body language, I have a sense of loneliness. This is actually one of my favorite images actually in the whole entire exhibition. There's a couple others, but this is definitely, to me, I think the strongest. I really love my facial expression. I love the framing of the shot. I love my hair, also the cornrows. My roommate Tanasha did my hair, and I think just added cornrows too just has another cultural element that is obviously very relevant to the Black community.
So this photo is actually one of my favorite photos throughout the exhibition. It's actually also one of our key promotional photos that we use throughout the exhibition run. There's this beautiful intensity juxtaposed with this calming sadness that we see in this image. The intensity is found through the colors, this red, this striking red. The whiteness in my eyes is also very intense. The red in my makeup, we see a lot shown in this image. And then the intensity of the tears, you really see the tears in this photo. And then the juxtaposition with the calming sadness that we see here. So even though the whiteness in my eyes are very intense, the actual expression in my eyes is very calm. It has this calming sadness. The pose itself is very calm and is very peaceful. It is very reminiscent of a nun-like image, with my hands being here, and we have the cross, and the costume itself kind of creates this very religious, nun-like element to the image. And this is actually one of the two images that were shot on film throughout the exhibition. All the the other images was actually shot on a digital camera. If you notice my grip here, even though it's this feeling of breaking free, my grip is somewhat relaxed. It doesn't feel like an intense, harsh grip. And I think that kind of leans into this like jazzy, in your own space feeling that's kind of being portrayed in these photos. It's kind of reaching the next curve of this healing process where I'm with myself and I'm beginning to understand my emotions and beginning to break free. So even though it's like this, again, breaking free, it's not an intense moment for me that's happening in these images. It's almost like a celebratory kind of praise dance almost that's happening in the movement in these images. So as you turn the corner, we have this piece by one of our exhibiting artists, Tatiana Noel. This piece really allows the visitor, as they are walking through the space and seeing me and my story, have a moment to reflect on their own story, kind of leaning into the practices of call and response native to African diasporic cultures. So Tatiana created this mirror installation piece where we have people answer the prompt, last time I cried, and they kind of reflect on the last time that they did cry. Then they write their reflections on these index cards and submit it here as a release, leaving behind those heavy moments, those heavy feelings, and those moments of heartbreak as they continue on into the exhibition. So this photo is the second photo in the exhibition that is shot on film. The photos on the red background really show the next phase of the healing journey for this subject. They're not in a completely defeated stance anymore. They're not in a space where they're fully in the heartbreak. You can see through the poses that they're in this kind of poetic environment where they're learning about their emotions, they're learning about what's next for them. So in this pose, the subject isn't all the way down where they kind of would look more defeated, but they're also not all the way up either. And even in the posing of their feet, there's an elegance to it where they don't feel super defeated. So yeah, I really love how this photography and this image in particular shows this in-between moment where they're not fully up, they're not fully down. She's looking out and kind of thinking about what's next for her on her healing journey. So this is our last image of the exhibition. I really love placing this image as a last image because, you know, the subject has the prayer hands and really kind of symbolizes this come to Jesus moment in their healing journey as they look directly at our audience, and it's this intimate interaction, really symbolizing that no matter where you are in your healing journey, you know, there's always a next phase, another come to Jesus moment. Your healing journey may not look like sunshine and roses, and with this image, it's not a smiling image. The subject is not their happiest, but we're really seeing this progression of sadness coming into a moment of peace where they know that as they pray and as they work on themselves, eventually they'll find some healing. So the final experience of the exhibition is this film room. As a filmmaker and a curator, I love the juxtaposition of film and photography. I feel like both of the mediums play very well together. Film creates a conversation while photography creates this nostalgic, reflective experience. So we have 3 different women from 3 different backgrounds sharing their stories with the goal of creating normalization around heartbreak for women of color.